My name is Voon Keat, and I would like to talk about the topic, does the internet mean the death of newspapers? Kristen O. Onion, who is the PhD, has done a study at Rema University in December 2021. The study shows that 45.6% of the respondents prefer reading printed newspapers, while 52.2% of the respondents prefer using the internet, and the rest are still undecided. This proves that people nowadays prefer using the internet rather than the newspaper. People that still reading printed newspapers is decreasing compared to before. Therefore, newspapers will soon be replaced by the internet because the internet is more environmental friendly, it is free and convenient. The first reason people choose the internet is that the internet is more friendly to the environment. This is because the internet does not require any piece of paper. On the other hand, printed newspapers do require papers to be printed. According to the University of the Southern Indiana, 500,000 trees are cut down to produce papers for the weekly newspapers. In other words, to print newspapers, papers are required. When papers are needed, more trees are cut down. As we all know, trees are very important to the environment. It provides oxygen to living things, increases the rainfall, becomes the habitat for animals, and so on. Hence, to protect the environment, people are more into using the internet. Next, the price of printed newspapers also becomes the reason why people use the World Wide Web instead of reading newspapers. Using the internet is basically free, but printed newspapers do cost people. Why the internet can be free, but newspapers cannot? This is because the cost of printed newspapers is higher and it requires things like ink and paper. The cost of distribution of the newspapers also needs to take into the consideration. On the other hand, the internet only needs a device and a Wi-Fi. As Srihari Sridhar mentions in the article, people that read printed newspapers become lesser mainly because the price of the subscription keeps on increasing, not because people are not interested in the news anymore. Imagine you can fulfill your needs while you do not need to pay a single cent. This is why people use World Wide Web. It is free of charge to access them. Some people may argue that internet does not work when going to places that are not in services like jungles and mountains. Compared to the internet, printed newspapers can be brought anywhere, even in these areas. People are still able to know what is happening by reading it. They might be right. But why? There's no reason for people to go these areas to read newspapers, right? In fact, people go to these areas because they want to enjoy activities like jungle trekking and climbing the mountains. According to the survey made by Wisdom O. Onion, 48.9% of the respondents thinks that the internet is more convenient than printed newspapers, while respondents that think on the opposite side, which printed newspapers are more convenient than the internet, is only 40%. The rest of them are not responded. Let's be honest. Most places in this day and age are covered with Wi-Fi. People can access the internet easily and they do not need to click and buy newspapers or wait for the newspapers to be distributed to their houses. Therefore, people can save their time to do other activities that are more meaningful to them. To put it in a nutshell, the internet means the death of newspapers for some reasons. First, the internet does not require paper, so people do not need to cut down trees just to produce paper. When lesser trees are being cut down, they will be more friendly to the environment. Besides, the World Wide Web replaces the printed newspapers because the price of the subscription increases time by time. People start to choose a new way to fulfill their needs while they do not need to pay any money. Last but not least, the internet is more convenient compared to printed newspapers as people do not need to click or wait for the newspapers. Every one of us needs to know the printed newspapers are slowly being eliminated by the internet. Otherwise, people will not be getting used to using the internet when the era of internet arrives and written newspapers are completely obsolete. Thank you for your attention.